dogs are hunting wild birds on the grouse moors in Scotland. It's the first season on live game for the young dog behind and was filmed over about 3 months. And she was out 2 or 3 times a week. Here she is backing the older dog, and you'll see it was the first time, in fact, that she came through and started to hunt the bird on her own.
Steady, steady, steady.
I was worried the young dog would run forward and bust the bird up, but once the older dog allowed her some space and took the pressure off her, she seemed to settle and she worked it really nicely. Every bird species have particular habits, and a dog learns to be savvy. Grouse parent pairs have many tactics for keeping you away from their young, and a dog and handler have to remember and learn. It's best to be stealthy on rising ground, as moving birds often wait on a brow, and a dog has to learn to move economically through the heather. I found it difficult to read this dog. I wasn't sure how close she was to the birds because she hasn't had that many of them, and I was probably a bit slow to push her forward. It's this stationary moment she really loses touch with the birds, and you'll see how it plays out. After moving forward quickly a couple of times, she starts to realise, you can see a slight head turn and her flues going. She realises that they're not where she thought they were, and she drops her nose and tries to hunt them on ground scent, and then she cuts away to the right downwind. But the older dog who's come forward turns left into wind. But she's made the mistake. It's the young dog that finds them. And bang, there she is, the young dog back on point. But birds suddenly get up all around her because the older dog has come round behind me and puts them up. But I was really pleased that 16-month-old Mavis should be as sharp as she was to relocate the birds and to sit and be steady with an older dog who was frankly a bit disobedient. So we hunted on, and I popped the older dog on the lead, and Mavis can start to work things out for herself. So keeping as quiet as possible, unless she was seriously unsteady or she was seriously lacking prey drive and needed encouragement. I don't want to influence her. I just want her to work it out. She'll learn by her own mistakes. I'll just be sure to give her plenty of praise when she does well. She's still a bit off the birds here, and with her wagging tail I know that she's not really staunch. She's not holding them yet. It's the sound of the birds that really makes her tail harden up, and she holds the point there, and she's just not moving forward on them yet. She will. I don't want to push her too hard. She'll start to move on them as she learns that she'll lose them otherwise. And of course she does lose them. They go here. I zoomed in so you can see them, so they look closer than they really are. But she's being nice and steady, and I'd rather her be steady than her to be really pushing the birds all the time and busting them up.
Very, very good, Mavis. Good girl.
Now in this beautiful scene, the colours are so lovely, you can see a few sheep in the distance. It's crucial that your dog becomes indifferent to any stock that's on the ground. So I would get that training done separate to your hunting, and then you can hunt with the confidence to know that you're safe. She had drawn on to point well ahead of me and then rode in on the birds, and she's now got as close as she dare. And I was delighted because for one of the first times she's holding these birds. As the camera comes round, you'll see that they bring their heads up just before they flush. And it was actually me walking forward that put them up. But Mavis was super. She sat of her own accord, and that's just what we want. So here we are hunting later in the summer. This is the 3rd week of September. Her fitness has improved no end. She's got much more stamina. The passion for her hunting is building all the time. Previously, at the beginning of the season, she was probably having a couple of 5 or 10 minute hunts on a trip out. now she's hunting for 40 minutes with just short breaks, and she's now 18 months old, so that's still quite a lot of work for a young dog. Some moors are really dry, there's no water on them at all, so always go prepared, take water with you, and I always offer my dogs a short drink when they've finished a run. And you'll see in a moment she comes on point, and she is much more sure when she's on scent that the birds are there. So I'm always as careful as I can be to stay off the skyline and pull in round behind her at about 45 degrees. And I don't want to get on top of her either. If you crowd them out, you can sometimes make them more sticky, and it's much better that she works for herself and I'm not intimidating her in any way. And if I get too close, or certainly if I got ahead, it would be me most likely that would be flushing the birds rather than her, and that's not what we want at all. So during this process, I want to be careful not to get ahead of her, not to get on top of her. She is holding back, she is being a little bit sticky, so she needs that encouragement, but I want definitely to stay behind. And if you imagine the birds ahead of her, they're travelling in a similar manner to her. They're running forward, they're stopping and holding, and then they're running forward again. And each time they stop and hold, they leave a stronger pocket of scent, which the dog dwells on momentarily before itself moves on. Well, this is going on longer than I would like. She's on good scent. They're taking her straight into wind, and she's just staying with them. An older dog would probably cut away to one side and take a fast loop round and try and hold the birds from the side, or certainly from closer, which would be more effective from a shooting point of view. But you'll see in a moment they get up, and she does sit nicely, but they're still well ahead. And you have to be quick to see 3 birds go away just at the bottom of the heather.
Good girl.
And the flush point was further than it looks, because that's on a zoom.
Good girl.
They'd have been out of range. But a lovely hunt from her. I was really pleased.
Very, very good. Very, very good. Good girl. Good girl. Steady.
So always give your dog the time it needs to perfect its skills by actually working the different quarries on the different types of ground, so it's able to do you the best job it can.